of the Chinese people is so different. With 3 decades of blessings from the limited economic freedom permitted by the Chinese Communist Party, China has become a superpower in a national level. Unlike the previous presidents, the current Chinese president loves to show off, which creates a global dissatisfaction. While some people, like the US President Donald Trump, wisely push a stronger than ever China for a fair deal, others, like the Chinese international students in Australia, blindly buy the delusion sold by the Chinese president, that China is truly stronger than ever, and all the Western countries that have oppressed China for so long time will now inevitably heavily rely on China economically. And now we can finally be so proud of being a Chinese. The recent clash between China and Hong Kong is a textbook example of the clash between 2 different mindsets. If it is not a clash between civilization and barbarism. Once in a lifetime, those international Chinese students finally got a chance to protest, their very first political protest. Across the rallies all over the world, there are 3 typical features among those Chinese international students and those overseas patriotic Chinese in general. One is being blindly patriotic, secondly, being verbally aggressive, and lastly, being very single-minded. Then, back to my topic question, how this can possibly happen. If one doesn't cherish the freedom and the democracy of the West, why on earth he or she intends to leave the authoritarian China under the Chinese Communist Party? If one so desperately shows his or her love and loyalty to the motherland China, why on earth he or she still stands firmly on the land of freedom? If the West is so bad and China is so good, why on earth studying abroad has any values? My answer to all these self-contradicted questions is only one simple big word, which is faith. These questions, I believe, may apply to many believers who have the faith in the religion of peace. If one doesn't cherish the freedom and the democracy of the West, why on earth he or she intends to leave the authoritarian Middle East? If one desperately shows his or her love and loyalty to a mass murderer, why on earth he or she still stands firmly on the land of rule of law? If the West is so bad and the land of the Prophet is so good, why on earth coming to an evil Western country has any merits? Though there are some similarities between a blind religious faith and a blind political faith, 2 features I found interesting among the Chinese patriotic people. The first one is the cult of money, and the second one I quite romanticizing patriotism. Don't get me wrong, as a free market believer and a firm capitalism follower and a mortgage broker, I love money. However, there is the natural law setting the boundary of loving money, which is used to be called property rights. Your money is your money, my money is my money. I can use my goods and services to exchange your money, but I should not steal or rob your money by any means whatsoever. But in China, due to the lack of rule of law and the proper political freedom, the economic freedom shows a horrible power in many circumstances. On one hand, the imported Marxist ideology promotes that all religion is the opium of the people. On the other hand, with the decade-long Cultural Revolution and the Tiananmen Massacre, moral standards reached a historically low point in the Chinese history. In such a background, a country of no faith finally found something to grab. That was money. Exactly 30 years ago, at the end of the 1980s, in the West, the Berlin Wall fell apart. In China, the Great Wall of Money started to be built. In the following 3 decades, a culture of money worshipping prevails in the whole country. For a simple example, Jack Ma, the richest guy in China, is also called Daddy Ma, unashamedly by the public. Money talks. A systemic corruption is not only inside the government, but also inside the whole society. Also, the cult of money creates a culture of lies. Nothing can be easily trusted. Thousands of young students died in 2008 earthquake, not due to the natural disaster itself, but due to the poor building construction quality. Thousands of, if not tens of thousands of, newborn babies got severe health issues due to the chemical baby formula and the fake vaccines. While in the society, gradually, people started to believe whoever makes more money is superior to the others. The value system is only accepted by large. This value system is not only accepted by large at a personal level, but also at a national level. China is now the second largest economy in the world. This means, to many, many Chinese people, China is superior to many Western countries. And therefore, China's value system, economic system, and the political system are all above the Western ones. The second feature I noticed is what I call romanticizing patriotism, or in other words, while the Communist Party deliberately mutes all kinds of criticism for their wrongdoings, over time, they also pass a particular value to the people, which is none is perfect, even the Communist Party, but all was done necessarily for the good of the people at a particular historical point. They, in a way, do not fully deny the fact that they made wrong decisions from time to time, but they justify their own behaviors in the name of patriotism. For people in the West, it may sound not easy for the government to purposely brainwash a whole generation of people in such a way, but it's actually not that hard. It's definitely through propaganda and by two major channels, which are schools and media. I think we can think in that way. Few weeks ago, some young school students in Australia, in many Western countries, took a strike for the so-called climate emergency. How much do they really know about science and the climate? How can this possibly happen? Well, 1 month ago, as my wife and I, we were looking for a potential child care center for our newly born baby. We did a bit research and we thought one big name child care center should be a good one to start with. So after a few calls, a tour was provided by the child care center. Guess what? Guess what I saw on the wall? It's climate change. So there, in that child care center, the political idea of climate change has been implemented in 1-year-old kids. And I think this is not a coincidence or exception. So with those kind of systemic propaganda through schools and media, day by day, week by week, month by month, year by year, a whole generation with very limited exceptions wholeheartedly believed in what they were told. In China, in Australia, in Europe, in the US, all over the world, different types of propaganda are eroding our future generations. For China in particular, I do not have much hope, and I think only probably a messy economic recession will make the people think differently and challenge their belief system. At the end of the day, it was not the Communist Party who lifted the country from poverty. It was capitalism, the wisdom from the West, that gave the economic miracles for China for the last 3 decades. So I hope my presentation today gives some insights of the current contradiction in the Chinese community, and I hope we can work together to fight the communism cancers. We should be reminded that communism cancer is real and is spreading among Australian political parties. Some suggestion was given by Bob, and I think the Australian government should really think about that. I love this country wholeheartedly. I love freedom wholeheartedly. That's my presentation today. I mean, if anyone wants to connect with me, I will leave some name cards at back, and or can add me on Facebook. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Warren Wang, for that very interesting expose about the attitude of overseas Chinese students. I think that was an eye-opener for, well, perhaps not for all of us, but for most of us. Now, the third speaker in this evening's panel is Mr. John Zhao, and he is currently director of the Melbourne Epoch Times newspaper. He's a former Chinese teacher at private schools in New South Wales, Victoria, South Australia for over 17 years. Before coming to Australia about 30 years ago, he was a university teacher at 2 universities in China. Welcome, John Zhao, please.
I'm not very familiar with the computer. All right. Okay. Thanks very much. I come from Melbourne this morning. I wake up 9 degrees in the morning, so I have to wear something. Very cold over there. Arrived here, 34 degrees. Over 20-something degrees difference. I'm still getting used to it. Thanks to the first 2 speakers here from different aspects, talking about China, human rights, and contradictions of Chinese overseas. I'll talk about, from a system point of view, why China cannot win in the end, and also the danger, and also it's very hard to win this I would say, West and the East system. It's very hard from the West to win, but we'll finally win. You probably heard about recent, the 4th plenary session of the 19th Central Chinese Communist Party Committee. President Xi talked about almost like number 5 modernization of China called Chinese-style governance system and its capabilities. And what is that? Basically, ultimately, it is a model to apply to the rest of the world. They want to use what they govern China today to govern the entire world. What we know of China today is like one-party totalitarian system, militant state. And it used, we all know, propaganda, surveillance, misinformation, denial of truth for the entire 1.4 billion people. One of the ways we all know also, Great Firewall blocks all information from the outside world, and obviously no freedom of speech, assembly, or faith. A country with millions of surveillance monitors around every street, every corner, every school, every company, just about everywhere. And they also use social credit system in place, will be in full place next year. They will be ranking everybody's behavior and everything with a score. If, say, you're Uyghur, if you're Falun Gong practitioner, Tibetan, or somebody who committed some wrongdoings in society according to the criteria of the Communist Party standard, and you'll be given very low ranking. If you have a low ranking, you can't do anything basically. You can't get government banking loans. You can go to schools. Even restaurants can refuse to serve you because you are, in the eyes of the government and the society, you are the enemy of the society. And I'll give you an example. Recently, a father with 2 daughters came to Melbourne, and his wife practiced Falun Gong but jailed in China today still. This man is a businessman in China, but because of his wife's situation, his 2 daughters goes to school every day on a bus and also by a short train. Every day being harassed because they can check the facial recognition system in place. When you show the ID, they can recognize who you are already. Even though they harass you every day, they know who you are, they still harass you. Or to the degree that the father was so sad that talked to his wife in jail that he has to do something. So he brought the 2 daughters overseas to Melbourne in the name of studying. They don't have to come overseas, but have no choice because they cannot stand the 2 daughters suffering since such a young age like that. So you can see the system in place, facial recognition plus social credit system. And on the one hand, we know a totalitarian system is very effective, very efficient in doing things in society because they don't have to discuss with anybody, like democracy. There's no debate, there's no election. If you don't agree with me, you can vote me out. But over there, if you don't agree with me, jail or death. So give you an example, one-child policy in place. Once the Communist Party decided it's too many people, just only 1 child, no discussion. The next day in place, all those people who want to have 2, you've been abortion, or you've been punished severely financially, or your demotion, or go to jail. Later on, I can give you an example of that as well. And the Chinese model, they want to apply to the world, because Chinese society almost already an Orwellian society today. Everywhere you go, you've been watched. Whatever you do. The facial recognition system basically knows every connection you have in society, every transaction you made, and every place you went. Think about that. They know exactly everything about you. So it's like the civilian monitors everywhere. In universities, even in the apartment, the dormitory buildings. So they want to do the system around the world. Already happening because in China they demand obedience because of the system. Nobody dare to criticize the government because if you do, you know what will happen to you. And therefore, everybody becomes self-censored, self-disciplined person. You know what to say, in public. You already know what to say. So about the students, just then, even in the video, they say that. Maybe they truly believe that, but also because they want to show to the Chinese government how patriotic they are. When they go back, they want favors, etc. We don't know. But so they want to do the same. So imagine already happening. See what the NBN, right? The NBN, the basketball in the US, what happened to them. And also what happened to a lot of Australian former and existing politicians who went to China. What happened to them when they came back? The business people, right? All these kind of things. They dare not to say a thing critical of China's human rights abuses. They become self-censored, even though they live in the West, even though they leave the country. And you can see the system already working. They influence the media, they influence the business circles, and they buy into your businesses, right? They control about 80% of Australia's total energy grid, right? Owned by Chinese companies. So they want to do this. They want to have a Chinese universal system in place. Say communication, their high-tech communication. Say for instance Huawei. If all your communication system is with Chinese technology, all the information data will be collected by them, right? They can in turn use that for their purposes to harass you, to threaten you, to coerce you into things you agree with them. Just like when people visit China, they give you a great tour, treat you like an emperor. During the night in the hotel, they send you beautiful ladies and everything else. And then they have everything in camera. Before you leave the country, hey, Mr. So-and-so, would you like to do something for us when you return? At that time, too late for you to say no, right? Everything been caught. This is how we do things. In the dark, you are in the open. So the infiltration is very deep and predatory, global and long-term, and all sectors of society. They started from children. They have the education system in place in the world. Look at what's happening in the USA and Australia. The people who taught university students, they themselves are already brainwashed. They talk about this globalization, the climate change things, right? So we know a lot of similar things already here in different forms. These kind of things. So a lot of people today praise socialist ideas without even knowing it. They just don't mention the word, but actually in its essence it's socialist, right? We know that. And also we know the unrestricted war. They want to use economic chemical warfare. Basically they have every deal through bribery. For instance, they want to get rid of all the other competitors. They give you the lowest price possible to sell your things, or they want to buy you, give you the highest price possible. They bribe you so that you agree with them. And this is how they do. And once they do that, and then they're in control. They're in control of the whole system. On the other hand, they steal the intellectual property. For instance, we know Germany has the best solar panels, used to be, because they had bribed the professor who invented the highest technology with a lot of $1 million. Then China got it. Then, since then, all the solar panels made in China. They export to the entire world. The same thing with the fast train, right? Started from Japan. Then again, when they have the technology transferred to them, they're going to massively produce in replace of Japan. They're going to basically shut down everything. That's why the model is China will become the world manufacturer of everything by 2025. They supply the rest of the world. Everything has to be made in China. So it's China versus the world, not China with the world. That's the problem. They want to govern everything. The cultural warfare, we know the education, the propaganda, the academic politicians, all these kind of things. They use the Western system by placing in our media China inserts, right, to say how good they are. The problem is, I don't understand personally. I agree with Donald Trump 100%. He at least see the tricks. He used the word reciprocal, right? If you want to do something here, we have to do the same to you, right? If you do not allow Facebook, Google, YouTube, and all the entire Western world platforms or media into your country, why would you allow your WeChat here? Why would you allow your media existing in this country to spread your propaganda, right? If you allow Chinese newspaper here, you have to allow Australian newspaper in your country. Reciprocal, right? You can't, we're open. We're open to another open society. We're not open to a closed society. Because you are closed and you want to take advantage of all the open systems. And that's not all. So I think Donald Trump has started to fight back. And that's the hope, I think. And we know the cultural, economic, chemical warfare, also including, they want to basically conquer the Western world in many aspects. Not only propaganda, but also your health. For instance, fentanyl. Right? Almost 100% of the world fentanyl is manufactured by China, right? Exported to USA. And fentanyl is about 100 times potent compared to heroin. If you use 100 grains of rice to get somebody cured of doing heroin, you just use 1 grain of rice, of fentanyl, you are dead. It's that. And it takes Chinese companies to spend $5,000 to produce a kilo of fentanyl, which will be sold for $1.5 million in the US. And Chinese people even never heard of the word fentanyl. It's completely made for American people to weaken their body and mind. You can see the evil-minded, predatory, global scale of penetration from the Communist Party. It's not a country versus a country, it's an evil system against the rest of the world. Sadly, the rest of the world so easily bought into it because it's economic things. I don't know how much time left.
About 5 minutes.
About 5 minutes?
Yeah.
And also, China be using the AI system, in terms of weapons, in terms of many things to make USA not number one anymore because they want to go very top quickly. One is to govern the world using a digital currency. Because right now it's US, everything is against US dollars. They want to do their own thing, use a different digital currency to replace US dollars. And also they want to use AI to have all these different high-tech weapons. On the other hand, China sends so many students to the US and Australia to steal the secrecy of many things. I don't know whether you understand. Can you imagine there are over 1,000 Chinese students working in NASA labs? There's over 1,000 Chinese students working in the US latest weapon laboratories. Think what would happen when these people go back to China, right? And all these students are in the most cutting edge areas of science and technology in the US. Majority of the students are Chinese students. What happened to the West cannot even see the open, so obvious problems. And they welcome them. And Australia too, welcome the students. They're not just here to study. And China sent them here with different purposes. I don't know why. It's so simple, so obvious things we fail to see. Finally, I'll say China's miracle is faith, as Mr. Wang said earlier. China's economic development completely at the expense of Western's economy, but also many USA persuading the WTO to allow China into this free market system, and hoping that China will have a free and open society too, like the rest of the world. But China is not a normal country. They are wrong. They fail to see the nature of communism, right? China instead want to change the world, not the world want to change China slowly. It's China want to change the world slowly, and it almost succeeded. We can see it. Look at Russia. Russia today, at least by name, no longer a communist country compared to its former Soviet Union. But even then, whenever we mention the word Soviet Union or even Russia today, you are alarmed. You know it's a country you're against because, you know what I mean? China is still a communist country, regime, openly, yet when you mention China, you don't think it's a threat. How can that be? How can that be? When you mention Russia, you're already kind of alerted, even though it's not a communist country anymore. When you mention China, you think about the trade. And there's another foolish thing Australian people, business people think, very easy, simple things. They think we are dependent on China for the trade. We need China so much, therefore we cannot upset China. Like on the National Day of China in October 1st, we know Western Australian Parliament inside, they have a celebration of China's National Day, singing the praises of communism. And in Melbourne, where I came from, in Box Hill Police Station, they have a Communist Chinese red flag raised above the police station. They all think China is important in Australia trade. It is important, but it's such a simple, even primary school know, trade will take care of itself. It's a basic principle of supply and demand. Think about it. If China 3 decades ago, 30 years ago, did not even need iron ore because it was so poor, right? Even if Australia had so much iron ore, would you sell it to China if you have a good relationship? Of course not. China wanted to buy iron ore because it was developing so much. But imagine if you didn't have iron ore, even if you have a good relationship, can you sell something to them? You couldn't. They need it, you have it, naturally will do it. Right? You have the iron ore. If somebody needs it, they will buy from you, no matter what relationship. So you need to safeguard your values, stand firm, and that is something you need to do. Right? Imagine China will ever buy rare earth from Australia. Right? No matter how good the relationship is, because China is the world #1 rare earth exporter. They will buy your natural produce, your natural products from the field, from agriculture, from the ocean, because you have the beautiful, clean, all that stuff. They need it. They will buy a lot from you. It doesn't matter the relationship. But Australian politicians are scared of China because, they will not buy from us anymore. It's such an easy, simple lie you can see through. And I think, however, the West is waking up, and also, but a lot of work needs to be done. We can see gradually, like USA, led by Donald Trump, is leading the change. Even though a lot of people are against him, against what he does, but still you can see the rise of waking up in the West. But we know a lot of socialist, communist, different forms in the West are making noises too, like the climate change, like the Democrats, people's behavior against Donald Trump, all that stuff. There's a lot of socialist, communist propaganda success in the West already. Therefore, it's a big, hard battle to do, but in the end, ultimately, I think communists will fail from the forces inside and also outside together. So I hope we can see this coming soon, earlier. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, John Zhao, for that very interesting expose of the true nature of the regime of the CCP. Now, the Roundtable Forum, the Roundtable Forums, plural, have been happening in Parliament House for the last nearly 14 years. We've had 48 of them. This is number 49. We've had all sorts of topics. God in Politics was the first one. Australia Ready for a Republic, The True Face of Crime in New South Wales, Peak Oil, Agenda 21, Australia's Future in Asia, Truth in History, Fake News, Cyber Warfare. We've had them, all sorts of topics, and each one has been interesting and different, challenging, daunting, and we've always had a good panel of speakers and a lively audience, bright people. We've always had that, that's our tradition. And this is forum number 49, China versus the World. We've had 3 very interesting speakers. The next forum